Alright, welcome back to the Blender 3 Docwalk. This document is fly and walk navigation. So yeah, let's get going here. Okay, now this is a quick little model I've prepared for demonstration purposes here for this document. And while, typical orbiting, just flipping something around is, kind of similar to having a piece of clay mounted on a turn wheel for sculpting, it can become disadvantageous when you're working with things like architectural models, game maps, landscapes, that sort of a thing. So for this document, or for fly and walk navigation, I've kind of prepared a little model we can kind of test some of these navigation capabilities out on. Okay, now walk navigation is very similar to first-person shooter game type navigation. So instead of having your kind of pivot point out there, out there in the scene where everything kind of orbits around, your pivot point is your perspective, right? Your viewport. Just a quick note on, well, actually, let's cover preferences really quick. We're going to jump up to Edit, down to Preferences, and take a look at navigation. Open this up a little bit. Okay, here is fly and walk navigation. View navigation, you can select whichever one is your default alternate navigation type. So walk is your default one. You can change it to fly if you would like, but either way you can select either one from the menus depending on which one you need. And if you would like to kind of set some defaults for walk navigation, there are no defaults to set for fly, but for walk you have like speed, reverse mouse, mouse sensitivity, teleport duration, right, walk speed, speed factor, and then you can have gravity on by default when you go into walk navigation. So you can preset your view height and your jump height. But we're going to turn that off because I will show you how to turn gravity on with a shortcut in just a second here. Let's close this out. Okay, so a couple of things you can use fly or walk navigation for is one, simply for navigating a scene. Personally, I have found that using walk navigation in your scene puts you in kind of a different frame of mind. It becomes less of a model, less of something you're working on, and more of what you want the experience to be. Does that make sense? It kind of helps you switch frames of mind, switch from being the creator, being the modeler, creating something, to having, I guess, the sensation of being in the scene. So yeah, first for navigation, kind of switching your frame of mind, and also for camera placement. So if you jump into camera mode by, remember, hitting zero, haha, did I get rid of my camera? I think I got rid of my camera. Okay, so let's stick a camera in here somewhere, and then we will hit 0. Diggity-dip. There she is. And let's grab her, bring her out over here. Well, okay, sure, why not? All right, I'm going to hit 0, so that brings me into camera view. Now, if I go into walk or fly navigation mode from here, as long as I'm in camera mode, as long as I'm in my camera, camera perspective here, any movements I make actually moves the camera. So this is a good way to place your camera from a first-person perspective, right? So it really helps with, as I previously said, getting a feel for your scene from kind of a user-like perspective, and being able to move your camera from that perspective really is kind of like being the director, right? Really having control over how your camera is positioned and all of that stuff. On top of that, you can also record with auto keyframe, and so you begin recording, and as you navigate your scene with walk or fly navigation, it will record the movements. So you can actually record a walkthrough of a building or a landscape, or making a video or following a character that sort of a thing. Okay, so I'm going to jump out of, or get out of the camera perspective here and zoom in a little bit. And we are going to just, let's land somewhere on some solid ground. And I'm going to hit Shift tilde to start my walk navigation. So holding Shift down, tapping tilde, and you see my mouse cursor has turned into this crosshair in the very center of my viewport, right? And now I can navigate as if I were playing a video game. In fact, the keys, like the default navigation keys for a video game, are exactly the same for most first-person shooter games. So you can either use your arrow keys, forward, backwards, left, right, or you can use the W, S, A, and D, right? So W for forward, S for backward, A for left, D for right. And in addition, you can use E for up, Q for down. E up, Q down. Now, if your aim in going into fly or walk navigation is to get a specific perspective on something, let's move up. Whoops. By left mouse clicking, right, it sets that particular perspective. So let's say for some reason this is the exact view that I want. I hit my left mouse button and it sets me there. Okay, so for moving the camera, this is how you would set the camera if I was in camera mode. Otherwise, so notice where I am right now. If I hit Shift tilde and go back into walk navigation and move around, and I decide I don't like anything here, I can't get the other perspective that I want, I just want to go back to where it was, I can cancel walk navigation just like you can cancel anything else, right? Which is either by hitting Escape or the right mouse button. So I'm going to hit the right mouse button, and it takes me back to the view I was at when I initiated walk navigation. Now for teleportation, I just want to say whoops, let's get back into walk here for a second. I want to teleport to somewhere. So I set my crosshairs to wherever I want to teleport to, and I hit spacebar, and it takes me to that spot. And the the distance above the ground that I end up at, right, is the same distance that you set in your preferences. So I want to teleport. Yeah, pretty cool. I wonder if I can jump up here. You think? Hey, yeah, great, that worked. Okay, cool. So now speed, as you're moving forward, okay, you can reduce your speed by by scroll wheeling down. Okay, scrolling down reduces your speed till it's just kind of this bare crawl. And you can speed up by scroll wheel up. All right, you can also, and it can get pretty unwieldy, but you can also use the plus and minus numbers or keys on your number pad to achieve the same. So while you're moving, slow down, speed up, that sort of a thing. Now there is the equivalent of having a speed boost or tapping on your brakes. So if I'm moving, let's slow down a little bit here and turn the corner. Okay, so if I'm moving and I want a quick speed boost, I tap my Shift button, and it's kind of like a like a booster, like quick little booster. And if I want to brake, Alt. Holding Alt down slows you down. So, I mean, really cool navigation capabilities. It really puts you into the scene. Very cool stuff. You can also jump, but you need gravity on. So while you are in walk navigation, in order to turn gravity on, you use the Tab key, and now gravity is on. So I can jump with V. Fun, right? And yeah, gravity's on. So if I walk off the edge, there I go. There it goes. But you can hit Tab, turn it back off, and use the space bar to teleport. It got me close enough. But yeah, so I mean, this is far whoops, this is far easier to navigate if you're, going through, something landscapey like this. If I were to try to do this, perform this sort of navigation with traditional, like orbiting navigation, this would, well, I don't think you could. Even if you were like the most skilled person possible, I just don't think it's possible to navigate like this with traditional Blender, 3D viewport navigation. Okay, so walk navigation has a bit of a twin. We've mentioned it multiple times. It's fly navigation. So let's get out of walk navigation for a second. Okay, we're going to jump up to view, go down to navigation, and right there on the very bottom, well, second to last, is fly navigation. So I'm just going to click that to jump into fly navigation, and you'll notice that now I have kind of angle brackets there, and there, but my mouse pointer still exists. It's not replaced with the crosshair. Kind of reminds me of kind of those old bomber video games, navigating a plane looking down from above. So let me show you. As I kind of begin to move outside of this bounding box, okay, the further I move outside of the box, the more I begin to rotate in that direction. Back. And of course, it works in all directions. Now, just like with walk navigation, if I find that I am somewhere, I've got my camera set the way I want it, or I've got my view set the way I want it, hitting the left mouse button or spacebar will exit the navigation mode and keep me with that particular view. Also, much like the walk navigation, the navigation keys are very similar. So we have forward and backward, okay, left and right. You can also use the W, S, A, and D. Whoops, let's get back into that. I accidentally, where am I? Okay. Now E and Q also work, but you have to have gravity turned off in fly navigation mode for Q and E to work. So remember, Q is move down, E is move up. Okay. Now, because I'm moving, once I get moving, I continue to go. If I want it to stop, just hitting Q once will get it to stop. Now the middle mouse button, click and drag. So I'm clicking my middle mouse button and dragging, and it is, allows me to kind of like pan the scene in whichever direction I choose. Now, with the mouse wheel, you don't necessarily need to use your navigation keys, right? The arrows or W, S, A, and D, or D. So if I start to scroll down, I begin to back up. If I scroll forward, I can increase my speed, but yeah. So scrolling up, scrolling down, but once you click it in the opposite direction, it stops you. Just like with the arrow keys or W, S, A, and D, once you're moving in one direction and then you depress a key that moves you in the other direction just once, it'll stop you dead. And of course, much like with walk navigation, the key press, right, the keyboard analog to the mouse wheel is the number pads plus and minus keys. The Alt key also has a very similar operation. So if I'm kind of cruising pretty fast, holding down the Alt key begins to slow me down. So Alt key, holding it down, begins to bring me to an eventual stop. The Control key disables, all right, so I'm this moves my head, all right, or my point of view, correct? So if I'm moving around and say, let's see what a good example here would be. Okay, so let's back up a little bit so you can see exactly how this works. I'm going to start, okay, I'm moving forward, okay, and now I'm going to hold control down and turn and look to my left. Now you'll notice that it hasn't changed my direction of movement. I'm still moving in exactly the same way. It's just like as if I've turned my head while I'm still moving, right? So the car is still going straight. You're just looking out the window to the side, kind of a thing. So it's not influencing the direction that you're moving. It's simply just allowing you to look in a separate direction while you're continuing to move in your original direction. So yeah, that's it. That's walk and fly navigation. And I just really want to reemphasize what I said at the beginning. When you're working on a scene and I don't know how else to explain this other than you just kind of have to experience it. But when you're working on a scene or a map for a game or whatever the case is, going into the puppies are I think the puppies are hungry. Going into fly or walk navigation gives you a very different perspective. I don't know how else to explain it, but it has an incredible effect on how you perceive your own creation, and can often help you solve problems or with creativity, trying to figure something else out or trying to figure out what to do with something. So yeah, I just want to kind of stress that because it really does kind of put you in a totally different frame of mind that can often be extremely useful. So yeah, so that is it for this one. All right, so that was the fly and walk navigation document. The next document will be aligning. Again, if you find these helpful, please like and subscribe. Share it with whoever you think might find some use in this. And I will see you guys next time. So bye. The puppies also say bye. See ya.